Okay, hi, welcome to Rainmaker's Journey. I am Rainmaker, and what I was going to talk about this time is last night I went to an Ancestor Healing guided meditation ritual, and it was really amazing. Um, so, um, I wanted to talk about that. So, I had done a little Instagram reel just kind of talking a little bit about that, mentioning that I was going to do this video and that I feel it's very important, like as you're moving forward with things in your life and working on healing yourself with your behaviors, your emotional dysregulation, bad parenting, or healing from abuse from anybody, parents, partners, work relationships, whatever. It's as you're healing yourself in your present moment, it's also very important to think about your past people, like in your family, like literally ancestor healing. So like my mom passed in 2011. My father committed suicide before I was even born. My mom didn't even know she was pregnant with me. She was 3 months pregnant. My mother was abused, physically, mostly emotionally, mentally abused by my great grandmother. That was all on the mother's side. Yeah, it goes way back. It's deep. So, and then my father was an alcoholic. And I don't know a lot about my father's family. I can't really speak about them. I'm not going to speak about them, but there are definitely signs of mental illness going on, acknowledged and maybe unacknowledged. I don't know. I'm not going to talk about that, but there's a lot of healing of the past, and I believe that when you energetically work with healing your past, family members, your ancestors, that energy can carry forward to you and change the energy of moving forward in healing your future generations. The energetic meditation work that I did last night, helping my family members heal their toxic situations, I feel really different about myself from that. And that is going to carry forward to my daughters and heal their past experiences and their present, and like lay the groundwork for their own positive experiences. I don't know if any of this is going to make sense for you. This is my experience. This is my personal view. I'm very open to, comments. Please leave me comments. I love to hear feedback and what people think and what their experiences are and their opinions. I think that there's a lot of good conversation that can be had around these things. I am down for it. I am here for it. Whether you're in agreement with me or not, I am here for this conversation. I would love to have it. That being said, part of the guided meditation that I went through, we did like a sacred space and called the elements and that kind of thing. And we began by envisioning I'm not going to go through the entire thing, but, I'm not sure. That person who was doing it was going to put it up on YouTube, but I don't know if it was going to be public or just for people who attended. So I'm not going to go all into it, but basically it was where we started in a familiar place, and the different parts of the guided meditation were exercises to help bring your focus in and bring you mentally and meditation wise, in your head into that place to be able to visualize and feel and call in your mind and in your heart the spirits of your ancestors is what we did. And part of the imagery, once we went down a hallway in our mind, we envisioned going down a hallway with pictures of scenes of our lives that showed our strengths, and that was really interesting. A scene for me was my childbirth, being in labor with my oldest child. That experience was a big deal. 8 hours natural birth, no epidural. I was out of my mind. Anyway, and we got to, in our mind, we're visualizing being in this room, and there's a cauldron there, and the fire and the smoke and everything. And our ancestors were coming in the door, and there I saw my mom, I saw my father, and I'm going to tell you, this was really deeply emotional for me, and I had tears. I was closing my eyes. I was holding my grounding crystal in my lap, and it was so emotional for me. I have energetically and spiritually tried to reach out to my father's spirit in the past, and I always felt him unwilling to come to me. And this was really powerful that he showed up in this sacred space, in this ritual with my mother. And part of the visualization of the ritual was that they were all there with their spirit guides as well, who were encouraging them and in their own healing as well, and to place an object that was symbolic of the release of their, what needed healing into the cauldron. My father shot himself. And I saw and I didn't imagine it, it was just coming to me, he put the gun in the cauldron, and my mother had forgiven him, and he had forgiven him himself, and it was like he was forgiving his parents also for whatever it was that caused him to feel the feelings that he felt that ultimately drove him to commit suicide. The meditation kind of went a little faster than I would have liked. It was a lot for me to keep up with. I had a lot going on in my head. And so I kept that energy running in my head. It was still a program. It was like a program that was still running in my head after it was all over with. And even into the night and part of today, because my great-grandmother, I felt like there was a hang-up with her, that she wasn't quite willing yet to accept this. And in the end, this breakthrough came through this afternoon. And what it was that went for her in the cauldron were her cataracts. Yeah. So she was having cataract surgery. This was in the 40s when my grandmother was in the hospital, literally having my mom. And my grandfather, her only child, chose to be with his wife, having my mother, instead of with her. Yeah, I know. Which would you choose, right? And somehow my great-grandmother never forgave my mom, literally, for being born. My grandparents named my mom after her in, I guess, some sort of attempt to make her feel better. And my mother was constantly the subject of abuse from my great-grandmother. And so this was hard, and she had even tried to abuse me once. I remember being 4 years old, and this was the 80s, and so there's spaghetti straps tank tops and little bitty shorts, and it was in the summer, and we had this old shag carpet, and my great grandmother, the family had gone on doing something, and they left me at home with her. And I don't know what it was that I did, but I upset her, and she grabbed me by both of my wrists, and I was trying to get away from her, and she grabbed me by my wrists, and she literally dragged me down the hallway. And I had brush burns on my knees that scabbed up later. And I was crying, and she got me outside, and we had a live oak tree. Yes, I'm from the South. We have live oak trees there. And she was making me pull a branch off of the tree, and I couldn't do it, and I wouldn't do it, and I was crying, and I didn't know what was going on. What is she going to do? And what is a switch? I didn't know what she meant by a switch. And she broke off a branch, and she was just about to smack me with it when my grandmother and my mom showed up in the back door and yelled at her. And she stopped, and I got free of her hands and ran into the house and was told, "Go upstairs, Christy." And I went upstairs, and my mom went up with me, and my grandmother went off on her, and there was this big talking, and my grandpa was there, and all of this, and never again was I allowed to be alone with my great grandmother in the house after that. And there had been some kind of talk when I was little. I remember the grown-ups would talk about things, and I would overhear stuff, and it always seemed to me that my grandfather didn't ever believe fully, or didn't really fully believe the things that my mom and my grandmother would say about my great grandmother. We all lived in the same house, by the way. But after this experience, I remember that things had changed, and the way that my grandfather behaved around his mother, my great grandmother, was different then. Things were different after that somehow. That isn't to say that things were much easier, but they were different. Maybe slightly better in some ways. It was hard. But anyway, so it was the cataracts, because that was the surgery she was having. That was what was happening when that was happening, And so the cataracts, she dropped the cataracts into the cauldron, and I felt this feeling of release from my mother that, okay, that now has been resolved. And there were so many other family members that I don't even know, and their spirit guides, and they were just coming in and dropping these different random things in the cauldron, and it was just such a release, and it was so amazing. And the person who was guiding the meditation, and the person who owned the land that we were doing this on in the sacred space, it was outside, it was a nice night, we had a big bonfire, it was groovy. And we're all sitting around it in chairs. They started chanting love, love, love at that certain point. And all of the spirit guides were saying that. And it was just this powerful, loving energy. And I just cried. It was just amazing. And I felt this big release, like this burden off of me, Yeah, and that happened last night. I did that. And so I've heard so much. I've heard about people talking about ancestor healing this, ancestor healing that, and but I don't think I really ever understood it. Like what kind of a difference that can make. It's like, but we're here now. Don't worry about the past. Forget the past. I'm like, you can't forget the past. That's where you came from. you are in the present moment. The past is where you came from. The future is where you were going. But all these things are connected. And if we don't learn from our past, we're doomed to repeat that past in the future, right? That's totally what we are seeing going on all over the world in many different ways and different levels. You can't argue with that. But so that's having this experience. Really, I understand now, and I encourage you to think about that and see how that resonates with you, and feel for yourself if that is something that you might want to be open to trying. I encourage. By the way, I also I'm not going to go into it right now, but just because a thing that I want to be doing coming up is talking about crystals and crystal energy work. And what I've been holding is my blue calcite in my left hand. I'm left-handed, so this is my action giving hand. This is my receiving hand. This is fuchsite. The purple version is muscovite. I think that they should be called the opposite, but that's me. And so this is the throat chakra. Very calming energy, calming kind of communication energy. And this works with the third eye, the crown chakras, and also, because it's green, the heart chakra, and this is connecting these things. So I find that this stone helps me very much with clarity of thought, and this stone helps me very much in being able to communicate clearly in a calm kind of way. Yeah, so that's what I'm holding on to right now. Okay, and I think that's good for now. This video might not take as long to upload as some of the others. The longer ones have been taking me like 3 days or 4 days to upload. Oh my god. So this one might take less time. All right. Thank you. Leave me comments, subscribe if you haven't already. And yeah, I hope to see you again. Thank you.